You're live.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Asia Brown, Director of Judicial Affairs and Title IX Coordinator for Mount San Jacinto College. I have two amazing colleagues here today who I will allow to introduce themselves, and then we'll move into our program.
Okay, well, I'll go first, I guess. Hi, my name is Sasha. I am the institution advocate over at the Riverside Area Rape Crisis Center. I'm excited to be here today to talk about our services alongside with CASA. So thank you all for tuning in today.
Hi, I'm Terry Handy, and I am from CASA Center Against Sexual Assault. I'm the Community Education and Prevention Specialist, and I'm really excited to tell you guys about our services and what we can provide, and we'll get into that later though. Thank you.
All right, thanks Terry and Sasha. I'm going to screen share really quick so that I can walk you guys through some of the resources from the MSJC end and a little bit of a better definition on what Title IX is and what we're even talking about today. This is the PDF version of my PowerPoint, so bear with me. But the definition of Title IX, the law that we're discussing all of this under, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. What this means in English is that you have the right to your educational environment being undisturbed. You have the right to not be discriminated against based on your identity, whether that's your sex, gender, religious point of view, any of the protected classes. And it's the institution's responsibility to ensure you that right. And when something goes wrong, it's our responsibility to make sure that we correct it. Here's some related stats under Title IX. Caveat, these are from 2007, so these numbers are even a little bit more drastic at this point. But just so you have these things on your radar and understand the seriousness of what we're talking about, 20 to 25% of college women will be victims of attempted or actual sexual assault. 6% of college men will be victims of attempted or actual sexual assault. 13% of college women report being stalked every year. In between 80 to 90% of those cases, the victim and perpetrator know one another, and fewer than 5% of student victims are actually going to report to authorities or law enforcement. Again, these stats are from a really good study, but it was from a bit ago, so these numbers have changed, but not positively in most cases. So these are things that folks in our MSJC community are dealing with on a regular basis. And we're here today to offer you some resources in navigating these areas for yourself, for your friends, for folks who you may know who are going through or maybe going through some of these experiences. So again, my name is Asia Brown. I am the Director of Judicial Affairs, but I'm also the Title IX Coordinator for MSJC. And what that means is that when you make a report, and I'll talk about how to do that in a moment, it comes to my office and it goes into an investigation process. So to make a report, you would go to our MSJC webpage, and then you would follow the student life link. Then that opens another drop-down menu. You'll go to the student conduct link and then filing a conduct complaint. In that area, you're going to fill in information like your name, when the incident happened, what occurred, and then you'll be contacted by my office, typically by me. However, in the cases of Title IX, it's your right to decide whether or not you want a full investigation launched. So as the Director of Judicial Affairs and Title IX Coordinator, it's my goal to make sure that our students feel supported no matter which way they decide to go. It's MSJC's business to make sure that you feel safe in your environment and that we're giving you remedies to allow you to be successful in your educational pursuit, no matter what has happened. Because of that goal, we have some community resources that my colleagues are going to talk about shortly. But if you do decide that you want to make a report, someone makes contact with you, and then you decide that you want to go forth with an investigation, what that looks like is I will have to ask you to share what happened. And I try to organize it in a way that you only do that once. I connect you to, or give you the option to connect to campus advocates immediately. They can be with you throughout this whole process. And again, they'll talk to you a little bit about what they do later. And then we gather as much information as we can from you, and then we start the investigation process. So notifying the responding party, which is the person who the allegation is against. We can put in safety measures like a no contact order. We immediately talk about safety plans in partnership with campus safety and our Riverside Sheriff's officers. We take every possible precaution we can to keep you safe and to make sure that you're supported. We can talk about educational resources, again, whatever you need. Please take a picture of this slide so that you have my contact information. The email is the quickest way to get a hold of me. And as we start the Title IX investigation process, if you do decide that you would like an investigation, at any point you can decide that you don't want to do that anymore. So as a Title IX reporter, the ball is in your court. And again, it's our job just to make sure that you feel safe and secure in your report, and that we can negotiate the remedies with as little negative impact to you as possible. So it's my goal to get things resolved holistically in a way that's beneficial and supportive to our reporting parties, and just to offer a fair, thorough, reliable, impartial investigation. It's always my goal to get it done promptly and effectively so that you don't have to drag this process out or go through trauma over and over again by having to retell your story. And it's the institution's job to end the discrimination or harassment, whatever happened, prevent its reoccurrence, and then remedy the effect upon you and the MSJC community. So all that being said, MSJC is wholeheartedly committed to supporting its students through the Title IX process and to making sure that everyone feels safe and secure in both the reporting, investigation process, and the remedy that comes out of it. So at this point, I'm not going to take up too much time. We'll circle back to all of this, but I'm going to pass it over to my friend from RARCC, Sasha, and give her an opportunity to share a bit more about her organization, what RARCC does, a little bit about her and the role of the campus advocate, and take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I'm going to share my screen now so everybody can see. So I am the advocate over at the Riverside Area Rape Crisis Center. As the institution advocate, it is my role to provide campus awareness for students about the resources that are available to them from the Riverside Area Rape Crisis Center, and also to advocate for students during Title IX investigations. So we are, can you all see, can you both see like the actual slide, or are you seeing the notes there too?
We are seeing the slide.
Okay, perfect, just making sure. Okay, so we are a nonprofit organization that is committed to providing culturally responsive support and services to survivors.
I'm sorry, you're in presenter view, so we can see that side piece as well.
Oh, thank you for letting me know. How about now?
Yep, perfect.
Perfect, awesome. So, okay. And to providing community education and achieve awareness and prevention of sexual assault. So all of our services are provided free of charge. Every single, anytime we make contact with a survivor, anytime we go out and we provide education and awareness, that is all free. Advocacy is our passion, and we are here to support every single survivor through their healing journey. In regards to our service area, our Riverside County is very large. So we cover up to the border of San Bernardino, up to like Corona, all the way down south to Lake Elsinore and Temecula. And that includes MSJC Menifee Valley campus, all the way up to as far west as Banning. So it's a large service area that we cover, where we provide our services to survivors and to their loved ones. So regarding our services, they are 24/7. So that means if it's the middle of the night, or if it's a holiday or a weekend, we are always here to listen, to support, to validate, and to get you plugged into those different kinds of resources. Likewise, let's say if you're not the survivor, but you know somebody who went through an instance of sexual violence or domestic partner violence, you can reach out to us and receive support and guidance, so that way you can get the support that you need, and also so that way you can understand a little bit more about how you can support your loved one. So in regards to advocacy, things have shifted a little bit because of this outbreak. Unfortunately, it's being felt everywhere in this nation, and how the Riverside Area Rape Crisis Center has adapted to it is now we are doing everything over the phone. So for the meantime, during this outbreak, we are doing our advocacy calls through the hotline, and we are connecting with our survivors through that avenue. So what happens is somebody reports a sexual assault and they go to the hospital. They are connected to immediately via the sexual assault examination nurse or via the police officer who approves of the examination to the advocate from the Rape Crisis Center. And so we inform them of their rights. We let them know what the process is going to be like, what they can expect. That way they can make informed decisions. And then we go through and we provide them referrals, and we provide them with a follow-up phone call within the first 24 hours of contact. Now, regarding accompaniment, so again, we have transferred to providing our services over the phone. So let's say a Title IX investigation happens. Let's say that you decide to make a report and you go to Miss Asia Pennell and you say, this is what happened to me. As Asia shared, with your consent, she can get you in connection with your advocate. So if you're a student over at the Menifee Valley campus, you will be connected with me, the institution advocate for your college campus. So she'll ask you, okay, can I get your information so I can have Sasha follow up with you if you're interested in that? And she'll provide me with your phone number and with your email. She is excellent in asking for your consent with what avenue you prefer me to connect with you, and whether or not I can leave you a phone message, because I am calling from a blocked number, and if you do not pick up, unless I have your consent, I cannot leave a message on your phone. Likewise with your email. So we want to make sure that we are informing you of the process, and that way you have those different kinds of options so I can get in connection with you at your own level of comfortability and safety. As Asia shared, she informs you of what the process is like. And as your confidential advocate, I have the beauty of being extremely biased to you and to your story. So I can be there to validate you, to support you, to look at different kinds of options, and just, be your champion, root for you during this entire process. So that's sort of what we can do in regards to Title IX. Yeah. And then, again, our 24/7 hotline, that's always available for you if you ever have any questions, comments, or concerns. I think it's also important for you all to note that all of our services are provided in both English and Spanish. I don't necessarily speak Spanish, so if you did have a Title IX investigation happen and you prefer to speak Spanish, thankfully a lot of our advocates are trained in providing advocacy in all different kinds of components, so we would be able to get you in connection with a Spanish-speaking advocate from our agency as well. But in regards to other services that we provide, some of our staff are actually cross-trained in domestic violence advocacy. And so we have a fabulous advocate. Her name is Colleen Hughes, and she is stationed down at the Southwest Family Justice Center. Colleen is superb. She can help get you in with resources regarding safety planning, regarding hotel vouchers, regarding transportation vouchers, if you are in an instance of domestic violence and you're trying to get out of that situation. So she's the Southwest Family Justice Center is really, really, really close to Mount San Jacinto Menifee Valley campus. So you have that option to get down there and to connect with an advocate down there very easily. She can help you with restraining orders. We can also help you with restraining orders. And again, she can help you with crisis interventions such as safety planning and needs assessment. In regards to counseling, so again, with the coronavirus outbreak, we have transitioned to doing everything fairly remotely. If the outbreak wasn't happening right now, you could come to our agency and we could get connected with you there. I'm realizing now that I don't have our address up, so at the end I'll type it in the comments, or I'll just, say that information with the contact info. But essentially, with coronavirus, what we're doing is once somebody calls in and they say, look, I would like to receive some counseling sessions, we get your consent. We also get your email, so that way we can send you over our forms regarding informed consent, and also regarding our standard procedures with telemental health. So once we get that information over to you and we get your signature, then we schedule an intake session in which we gather information from you to see how we can best support you through your healing journey. Once we complete the intake session, that is where we move into the counseling sessions. Again, it's free, it's confidential, and so essentially we just provide you with that space for you to process whatever you're going through. We also have, I see that popped up on my screen. I like to eat, so. We also offer support groups. So again, it's a little different, but you can do your support group via Zoom with the person who manages the support groups. And that way, you can relay your experiences and connect with each other and support each other with what you're going through. And then we also provide counseling in schools. So what that means is if, let's say, you're in middle school and it's really difficult for your parent, your mom, your dad to take you over to the agency for counseling because it's during their work hours, we can actually go through the counseling center with their consent and meet with you and provide you with that counseling support. As the institution advocate, I'm able to go to different kinds of colleges and universities in our service area and meet with students one-on-one if transportation is an issue. Again, things have shifted with coronavirus, but once the social distancing and quarantine uplifts, we'll be able to resume that as well. And also, just to make that point again, we do have Colleen Hughes stationed at the Southwest Family Justice Center, so she's really accessible to students over at MSJC. Okay, so again, in a larger scope of what RARCC does is the advocates at our agency, we move survivors from crisis to recovery. That is our role when it comes to fighting for justice with survivors of sexual assault and survivors of domestic violence. We can also work with significant others, best friends, parents, whoever may be impacted by the sexual violence. Your story matters as well. So we are here to help support you through that. We always follow up with survivors within the first 24 hours of contact, and anytime we get called out to the hospital, we always bring a survivor bag that has our information, various referrals that are available in the community, a teddy bear, and brand new clothes for survivors to change into after they receive the examination. Another part, or another significant part of the agency is also our community education. So we have educators that go into the community and focus on prevention. So having healthy and important discussions about what sexual harassment is, what healthy relationships are, how we can help prevent child abuse prevention, all of those different kinds of discussions that need to happen so that way we can fight against sexual violence from the very beginning and provide information about what consent is. We have different kinds of school clubs. We have educators going into middle schools and high schools talking about, for those who identify as male, what is masculinity? What is toxic masculinity? What does it mean to evaluate masculinity and to support other people? We have those different kinds of discussions happening. And then with my strength, for those who identify as female, you know, what kind of tips can we use to empower each other, and how can we understand what having a healthy relationship with not only ourselves but also other women, what does that look like? And then we also offer self-defense classes. Again, with the outbreak, that's a little different. But once this whole thing settles down, we'll be able to resume those again. And I've had the privilege of teaching some self-defense classes over at MSJC. So hopefully when this passes through, we'll be able to pick that up again. And lastly, we support everybody within all various different kinds of communities. So if you identify as someone within the LGBTQ community, I want you to know that you are not alone. There are people who are here to support you and who are here to champion your interests. Our advocates are trained with validation of your preferred pronouns, of your preferred name, and so we can be there to help validate you if you decide to make that report to law enforcement, or if you decide to make that report to MSJC. I know MSJC is very excellent in approaching things from a very empowering and intersectional approach, but it also just helps knowing that your advocates are very well educated in that matter as well. And so yeah, we can accompany you to police interviews, Title IX interviews, and we also have LGBTQ specific referrals and resources. And lastly, I know that CASA is going to probably talk about this as well, but if you're interested in getting involved, if you're listening to everything that I'm saying and you're like, you know what, I really want to get involved as an advocate at the Rape Crisis Center, at the Riverside Area Rape Crisis Center, please by all means do so. It's a really amazing experience. You learn the ins and outs of what advocacy is, and you are on the forefront, you are on the front lines of change, making a difference in somebody's life. It is challenging at times because hearing those different kinds of stories can be really impactful, but ultimately you are there to make a difference in a survivor's life. And when you see that survivor move from crisis to recovery, it is the most amazing experience to have. So you do have to complete the 46-hour crisis counselor training. You do need to be 21 years or older. You must have a valid driver's license, transportation, and automobile insurance. But I highly recommend it. I mean, if you want to get into graduate school, or if you're looking to become like a competitive applicant in a specific career, law enforcement, mental health, social work, child protective services, this is where you can be, where you can build up your resume and become that competitive applicant. So I highly recommend it. And we definitely need more bilingual advocates. If you speak a different language, please, by all means, consider getting involved. The more that we're able to represent Riverside's beautiful, diverse community, the better we can provide our services. So please, please, please consider getting involved. And this is our information. So our 24/7 crisis hotline is 951-686-7273. We're free, confidential, and we provide services in both English and Spanish. Gloria Torres, she is the Director of Client Care Services. If you need to get in touch with her, if you're interested in becoming a volunteer, by all means, that's her contact information. And then this is my contact information as well. If you have questions, if you're interested in filing a Title IX complaint or going through with an investigation, and you want to know what your options are with reporting, by all means, please reach out to me as well. Again, I am confidential, so I can help you, process different things that you're going through. That way you can make the best informed decision for yourself. So that is my email. That is my work cell phone. And yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Sasha. That was an amazing presentation. Just to make a clarifying point, as Sasha mentioned in her presentation, if you're a student who's traditionally at the Menifee Valley campus in VC, then Sasha will be your advocate along with working with the RARCC organization. If you're on the San Jacinto side, then you would work with Terry. Our Temecula Banning students, it kind of splits as well. And, you know, if you are a student on one of those campuses, make the report and we'll figure it out from there. And so at this time, I'm going to pass it on over to Terry to give us more information about CASA.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Asia. So a lot of everyone out there, they're gonna have to look at my face instead of my PowerPoint. We were having a little issues with it. So I'm going to just go through who I am and where I work, and then we'll go through all the different resources we have. A lot of them are going to be repeated from Sasha's PowerPoint, but because we both are rape crisis centers, we do the same things, and just in a little different ways in different areas. That's it. So we are the Center Against Sexual Assault of Southwest Riverside County. My name is Terry Handy, and CASA was established back in 1983 as a result of a teacher who had a student who had been violently raped. And the lack of resources in our area, you know, we just didn't have any. So they started collaborating and establishing this local support, and finally became their own rape crisis center, instead of having to drive the student all the way out to Riverside. So we are so grateful to them for doing that, because we know in this area, our community in San Jacinto, Hemet, Idlewild, Winchester, transportation is a huge issue. And so, you know, it was nice to have services in this area. So our vision is a safe and healthy community where relationships are built on dignity, respect, trust, and compassion and equality. Our mission is, let me just get I apologize, I'm working with on my end of this with my PowerPoint here. So our mission is CASA intentionally fosters deep reliance in a I apologize. Sorry about that, guys. So CASA intentionally fosters deep resilience in our community. CASA supports children, adolescents, and adults in adapting to and overcoming adversity, trauma, and tragedy through prevention and healing services. So what that kind of means is that we do not have any requirements if you are have any sexual violence in your past, the present, you will receive free services. Just like Sasha said, we are 100% free. We're a nonprofit, and we actually do, you know, quite a bit, just like uh, RARCC does. And we just have a smaller area. We do have Aguanga, if I said that right. I always mess that one up. ANSA, Gardner Valley, Gilman Hot Springs, Hemet, Homeland, Idlewild, Lakeview, Mountain Center, Nuevo, Pine Cove, Sage, San Jacinto, and Winchester. So that's our area. We are a smaller area, but we are more accessible to for transportation reasons to be closer if you're in those areas. We also have our office is located at the Bank of Hemet building on Florida. It's 1600 East Florida. Suite 206 in Hemet, California, 92544. If anyone ever knows, I always tell them we're on the corner of Florida and Girard, across from the Jack in the Box, and that usually leads everybody straight to our office. I wanted to talk about a few statistics first before we go into our services also that I thought were really interesting. These were right off of the CDC and RAINN.org's website. It is over 85% of all rapes committed hold some some degree of acquaintance, meaning that there is some knowledge of that person. So whenever we were taught back in the day of that stranger danger, it's always good to still have that stranger danger in mind, but just to know that 85% is holds some degree of acquaintance where you have met them. um, and it can even be like someone you met online, someone you are, going on a first date, and or multiple, you've known them for a while. It could be a family member, it could be a family friend. We do see this a lot in our area. So the next statistics I have is a rapist will rape an estimated 15 times before caught. So typically they say that these, when a rapist is actually caught and um, investigated and prosecuted, it's typically, not their first rodeo. It's an average of, or estimated 15 times before caught. 1 out of 3 women will be raped in their lifetime. 1 in 3 children will be affected by sexual violence, and 1 in 4 men will experience sexual violence. So we're right up there with men and women. It's just, I think, so underreported that we are very sensitive to all of the clientele out there that just need our help. So it's anyone who needs our help, we won't turn them away. So we do advocacy, therapy, campus-based services, prevention efforts in schools and community, child abuse and treatment, and human trafficking department. So I'm going to go over each one of these. Just like Sasha said, in advocacy, we have a 24-hour, 7 days a week hotline. It is completely confidential. And we do ask if it's okay if we follow back up within 24 hours just to check on you. It doesn't mean that, we're going to go and, um, tell anyone about your story or anything. It is completely confidential, and it is, just a checkup, just see how you guys are doing the next day. Because sometimes when you do tell your story, it is very emotional, and it wears on you. And so we just want to make sure you're still doing okay the next day. And then we can go from services. Then if you would like services, we can start working with you guys for that. Now, again, with the confidentiality, we are completely confidential. So we do not have any of our advocates. All of them have been trained, and our staff are all trained also in the same training. That confidentiality is the highest, most essential um, rule to have. It is, you do not want to be the person who tells your story and then later on go out and hear someone else talking about it. And so you will know that it will never be spread past the advocate and therapist if you choose to start seeing one of our therapists. We do have therapy, which is we have I believe at this point right now we're about at 14 clinicians. So we have therapist ones and therapist two who are all clinically supervised with a licensed marriage and family therapist or a licensed clinical social worker. So we have all that where we're able to, see you guys one on one. We also have group therapy. So we have many different groups. We have a kids group, and that group is it is 5 years old to 12 years old, and they have a lot of very fun evidence-based art, therapy, different little things that they do, and it's really neat to see the kids come out. We have a teen group that also we are in the process of doing putting together our LGBTQ plus support group. And then we do have our adult women's group, and we are in the process of having a men's group. It's just a little harder because a lot of men don't want to come forward, and especially they don't want to talk in a group. So it's still in the process, but and then our last group is actually it is called Survivors We Stand, and it is our human trafficking support group that is strictly only for people who have gone through an assessment and they feel that this is the right placement and that they are with the correct people in the support group. So nothing is triggering or anything like that, and they're supportive. So we know that a lot of things that deal with human trafficking, it becomes a very hard and stigma uh, topic for them because it's very hard to even come out and get services after something um, we know like sexual assault has happened. Then with human trafficking, we kind of say it's times 10 because that's like typically 10 times a day, no days off with human trafficking. Um, the other one that we do is campus-based services. So we are on MSJC San Jacinto's campus. Um, I don't know if most of y'all probably have seen my face out there. In the month of February, I think I was there about 16 different days out of February. And then in March, due to COVID-19, I was there twice. So, and of course, because of this, we are changing. It's going to look a little different right now. But as soon as this is over, we will go back right to what we were doing. Of course, with masks and gloves, probably though. So we are at MSJC. And if anything happens, like Sasha said, you would report to Asia, and she would ask for your consent to reach out to us. We would be able to come out and give you guys a um, non-judging, completely. Excuse me, I need a drink. I'm talking so much. Let me grab my water right here. I apologize. A completely non-judgmental and supportive. Sorry about that, guys. And supportive services just to help you get through this. Now, we want to give you options because we see that when things like this have happened, your options have been taken away. And so that's a really important point that I like to get to all of our survivors is that you're the boss. You tell us what you want. We're not going to tell you what you need to do and what you should do. We're going to say, these are the options, and this is your choice. If you want to file that report, you file that report, and we'll stand there along the way with you. Stand right next to you the whole way through. We can do law enforcement accompaniments, Title IX interview accompaniments, the forensic exam accompaniment. We also go to court, and we can also go to the DA meet and greet. We also inform the survivors of the Bill of Rights. Some people know it as Marsy's Law. And what that is it's a 17 different rights for you guys that a lot of people don't know, because who ever gets pulled aside in their life and says, oh hey, so if this happens to you, these are the rights you have. So it's very helpful to have those rights, because a lot of people don't even realize, like, one of the rights that always stands out that I've noticed is that the right not to talk to the defense before trial. And so a lot of people are like, oh, the defense called me and they want to talk to me. And I always let people know, that's your choice. It's your right. You can say no if you do not want to. Of course, on the stand, it's a different story. But before that, trial, if it gets to a trial, you do not have to. Sometimes too, like Sasha said, we do have survivor bags that we hand out to everyone who comes in for a sexual assault examination. Which I know a lot of our SART nurses now are doing domestic violence evidence collection also. So we bring out what you would need. And that tends to be like, if you have to give up your bra and underwear, it has bra and underwear, shirt, pants, socks, blanket, because a lot of times these things do happen at a very, um, you know, uh, dark time of the night, and it's very cold. And so we want to make you feel as supported and comforted as possible because we're on this journey with you. Um, and so anytime that we come out, you know, before COVID, we would come to the hospital, we would come to, um, law enforcement office. We do all over different accompaniments. We do have a SART house, which it is part of the sexual assault response team house. So what's nice about this is that it is in Hemet, and a lot of people, when they are sexually assaulted, they're having to go to the ER. They have to go into the ER and wait hours and hours for this evidence collection to happen. What's really nice out here is we have a SART house, which is a home that has been changed into a evidence collection home. We have the front room is living room style. It has movies and books, and there's even a little play area for kids. We also have a kitchen where we can make food after the exam because a lot of times they want to swab for DNA. So we wait till after the exam is done, but then we can make food because sometimes it's been a long time waiting for that exam, and people are hungry afterwards. So we have that, and we have drinks. And then we have the exam room that we can have, not that hospital harsh environment. Um, so it's very nice to have that. We also work out here with Hemet PD, San Jacinto, uh, law enforcement, and then also Riverside County Sheriff's Department. And so we work very closely with them. They're very, helpful with us, and we're able to actually be your champion when you're talking to them, because that is what we're here to do. If there's something that maybe you want, but you don't want to say, you're little it is still in shock and everything, we can even tell them, hey, could you get a minute? Can he get a minute? Can we, kind of give you a second to, um, just to calm down, because our brains are not collecting every memory, and we're not going to go, it happened A, B, C, D. It's pretty much going to be A, D, B, A, C, D. It's all over the place. So we like to be able to give you guys that chance to sit and talk and have that moment to think about things, because that is something that can be kind of a little harsh sometimes. And we also explain the process of why law enforcement is asking these questions right now, where it may seem like it's victim blaming, but we're going to explain why. And so then it feels very much like you're kind of guided, and not having any of these surprises pop up, and being informed the whole way. Um, Next, also what we have is we have prevention efforts in schools and community. So as I said before, you saw me probably, multiple times on campus. We bring information like teen dating violence, information. We have sexual assault. We have domestic violence with strangulation components to it. We also do have where we go into Hemet Unified School Districts and San Jacinto Unified School Districts. We do empowerment groups. We do counseling, one-on-one counseling. And like Sasha said, if there's a transportation issue, we can see you. But also sometimes if you've been sexually assaulted and you do not want to share it with everyone, we can actually come to the school and we can see you for one-on-one therapy there. Just because if you're 12 and older, you do get to have that consent of being seen for therapy. And we can't, because of confidentiality, we cannot tell anyone about that. So that's something else that we do provide, that confidentiality piece again. And also we do have a child abuse and treatment program where it doesn't have to be sexual assault. It can be bullying. It can be, witnessing family violence. If there's arguing, and, maybe some intimate partner violence in the home and they need to be seen, we will see them for free. And all our services are free. We never charge anything. And then lastly, we do have a human trafficking division, and this division works solely with human trafficking survivors, and they do intense case management. They do one-on-one therapy, and again, the groups. They also have what we do have is a transitional housing, because a lot of victims afterwards are left kind of without services a lot of time. And there are services like when we're advocates, we can go out and we can actually fill out paperwork like restraining orders for you. We can fill out um, paperwork for a California victim compensation program, and a lot of human trafficking victims who have not reported it as a crime, we can actually still help them get some compensation from that, victims of compensation. There's also a program called Safe at Home that we're an enrolling agency. And so if you've been a victim of human trafficking, sexual assault, domestic violence, and there is you do not want that perpetrator to find you, we can actually enroll you in a confidentiality program through the Secretary of State of California, which then gives you that where your license does not say your address. All your information goes to actually the Secretary of State. So it's very helpful. Um, so I've kind of talked a lot. I hope that I didn't over um, just to wear you guys out in talking, but I did want to go through what we do with our staff. Is we have our executive director, Gail Hepner, and she has been in this community for years and years and years, and she really cares about this community, and that's what she wants for CASA, is to actually be that change that we want to see. And we have our counseling program manager, Rachel Leal. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist. We have our human trafficking program manager, Rebecca Cleland, who is an associate marriage and family therapist. We have our advocacy services program manager, which is Gina Martinez, and she is an associate marriage and family therapist. And then we have our program manager of campus-based services, which is Holly Briggs, and she is an associate marriage and family therapist. If anyone wants to become a advocate, I really highly recommend it. Like Sasha said, it is so life changing, I think, when you go to someone and you sit there with them and you help them and you are there just kind of leading them along the way, the whole process. I tell people, you're not a savior, you're a guide, but that guide is so important. And I can tell you so many times that I've had survivors come back and say, I would never have been able to make it through without my advocate. And that's when I tell them, and you can do this for someone else, because most of the time that we have people wanting to report these heinous crimes, we tell them, you know, um, if they did this to you, who else are they going to do it to? It's probably not going to end until someone stands up and says stop. And so that's a very helpful process and thought to know that. And so when they're done with their journey and they're still on their um they're healed, they're able to kind of help someone else. And that's where we really have a lot of our survivors are, advocates for us. We also have a lot of students, because of course it does look very good on, applications, and anyone going into their master's program, it looks wonderful, just telling you from experience. um, and so it is definitely, when you leave, it is, you find your why do I do this, that. And every call out, after each call, I really sit there and I just think, this is my why, this is why I do this, this is why I'm here. And so in the end, if you guys would like to um write any information down, we are at www.s as in Sam, W, and then C as in cat, A as in apple, S as in Sam, A as in apple.org. That's our website. So swcasa.org. And then we do have our 24-hour, 7 days a week hotline, which is 951-652-8300. And again, that is 24 hours, 7 days a week. It doesn't close on Saturdays or Sundays or holidays. We're open 24 hours, 7 days a week. And you can always call and go to our website if you are interested in becoming an advocate. And we hope you are. So thank you.
Thank you
And
so
thank
much, Terry, for all that information on CASA. We have a few more minutes, and before we close, I just wanted to ask you both a few questions that we may not have touched on yet. For our undocumented students, we do have a significant population of undocumented students, both at our school and in our area. Can you talk a little bit about services available to them and the reporting process for them?
Yes, we actually have a Spanish speaking therapist, and we do have Spanish speaking advocates. And we actually, in that process, do case management, where we can actually get them in touch with legal aid that helps with immigration. We also, though, are a nonprofit, and again, since our services are free, we do not accept insurance or anything. So nothing is documented. So there's nothing that they have to worry about in any reporting or anything like that. They're not going to have any of their information given out. And I know during some scary times, some people don't want to reach out for services, but this is, again, we're confidential, and we do not report to any uh, you know uh, law enforcement agency that says, oh, immigration this and immigration that. And in fact, the law enforcement agencies that we work with, we have talked to all of them, and they all have said they would prefer to catch a rapist, and instead of reporting someone to immigration. So we're actually fortunate that our law enforcement agencies agree with us. But we do also do case management, where we help with getting legal aid. We help, get resources that are needed at that moment. And we do, again, have that Spanish speaking therapist that where they could do a one-on-one. Oh, and we do have a Spanish speaking women's group. I forgot about that. I apologize. And they meet before COVID, they met at the San Jacinto Unified School District's Parenting Center. And they had free childcare. So when we're back up and going, that is another thing that is available. But also, during this time of COVID, there still is our hotline that they can call. And again, that's 951-652-8300. And they can reach services that way, still even getting connected to legal, other resources, things like that.
Yeah, and our end, it's very similar. So we are confidential. We do not make reports to the officers about, somebody's immigration status. That is entirely confidential. We also can help provide legal services if you're interested in going that route. We just did a U visa workshop with somebody who was involved with immigration, and that was really informative because it allowed us to see if somebody is an immigrant and they want to apply for that emergency visa status to stay in the United States, how we can navigate through that process so that way if you decide to make a report to the police and your immigration status comes up, how do you navigate through that? So we are trained in those different kinds of resources, and we have those different kinds of community referrals, so that way if you want more additional information, you can reach out to us through that avenue as well.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. And then second question, in this time of unprecedented isolation where folks are stuck at home, do you have any strategies for people who may be facing domestic violence, intimate partner violence, sexual assault within their homes that they are currently isolated or quarantined in? How can they keep themselves safe? What are some ways to reach out for help as safely as possible?
Yeah, so I think over at our agency, if somebody calls in and they say, "Hey, I'm with my abuser," what we can do is we can shift to asking yes or no questions. Are you like? We can tell them, look, if you get disconnected, you can call us through this line again, or I can get in contact with you by like a code name if you need me to. But from now on, just because you've told me that your abuser is present, I'll shift into asking yes or no questions. And if he comes into this room, let me know what kind of safe word works best for you, so that way I know when to either disconnect or when I need to call emergency services if your life is in imminent danger. So essentially, giving them that space to sort of assert like what they need in code. That way, if somebody's listening, that person isn't, fully aware of what's going on. That way we can figure out how we can provide the best services to them. With coronavirus, I think, there's a lot of fear for reaching out because maybe being afraid of no services existing. Services still exist. There is still domestic violence shelters that are up and running that can help you, that can help get you the resources that you deserve. Our agency is part of that too. While we may not have like a shelter directly at our agency, we work hand in hand in making sure you get the best services possible. So we will connect with you, we'll listen to you, we'll validate you. And if you let us know that it's an emergency situation, then we can help alert the authorities. That way you are able to get out of that situation as safe as you can. Also, we do safety planning as well. So if you let us know this is your situation, we can help develop a safety plan with you immediately. So that way, if something happens, you have the means, you have that list, you have those different kinds of things that you've identified as essential. So that way, if it begins to escalate in the house or if you're ready to go, you have that whole list of everything that you need. So that way you can pack it up and get out of there. And that way you can feel safe too.
Thank you. Terry, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's similar. It's just the same. We do a lot of that, code words and safety planning. But another thing that I like to point out on this is that there is a law right now that states if you are in a home and there is a domestic violence call out from law enforcement, we can actually help get that person, even if it's just their name on the lease. It's actually the victim, whoever is the victim is allowed to stay there, and we can get a restraining order to where, at least fill out the temporary restraining order till it goes to court, and we can go with you to um, that court date for that hearing. But to get them out of the home and keep you safe and being able to keep where you live and not uproot yourself or your family, kids, maybe siblings live there. You might have someone in the family that's going through this, and you could talk to them about even calling us to help understand that law that you're allowed to stay in that home, and they are allowed to get a restraining order where they cannot come back. And so that's always helpful that people know that law, because a lot of people think when these things happen, they're going to be out on the street, which is a possibility that does happen sometimes when they're like, hey, I'd rather get out of here and be safe. But then we can help them find shelter. We can help them find different resources. And in that safety planning component also, that's very helpful, is kind of recognizing who are your people you trust, because if maybe you want us to get a hold of you, but there's no way because the perpetrator's there, you can actually give us a friend's information, and they may know the whole story with you, and they can actually call in your place. You're also able to go on our website and email us, because sometimes emailing is a little bit easier, to get information out there, and then kind of erase your history. Also on our website, just a nice thing to have is that we do have a button that's an emergency, kind of like an emergency escape. What it does is it takes you right off the site as soon as you click it. So that's another safety measure we take, that if you're on our website and someone walks in, you can push that button and it'll go away. Another thing that I think is really important to say also with this is that we are here to support you throughout the way. If you are in that position where maybe you want to stay, and you're thinking you don't have options and don't know where to go, we can actually help you with that. And a lot of times, when people are calling us, they say, oh, you can't call me back. And then we might get a call, later on, and we don't know who it's from because we do not have caller ID. We are confidential again. So when someone calls back and says, wait a minute, who is this? What, you know, they'll call us and they'll say, who is this? And we go straight to, we're a counseling center. We never say, straight off the bat, oh, Center Against Sexual Assault, or we never say anything like, oh, we're a rape crisis center. We tell them we're a counseling center, and that helps a lot of people, because then you're not calling for anything but maybe some counseling, and maybe you didn't make that appointment that they're worried about. So it really helps a lot with that too. And so, but we're here for you. Yes, definitely. Anything we can do that is in our, parameters and our scope, we will definitely make sure that we can do that for you.
Thank you. And thank you both for being here. Unfortunately, we're out of time for today, but I look forward to hosting more of these with both of you. If anyone needs more information, please go to the MSJC Student Conduct page, and you can find my contact information there, and I will get you connected to whatever services you need. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Sasha.